River Music Television, and I am joined by Aimee Vargas today, and we're going to be talking a little bit with Aimee. And I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on our program and spending some time in your evening with us. So I'd like to, for my own self, get to know you a little bit better. And I've known you since I moved up to Orem a couple of years ago, and I just hear your name, and it took like a year before I actually got to see who you were. And then I got to see you on social media, and you're really prominent there. And you just are a one-of-a-kind person, I can just tell. But also love all the interactions we've had. So can you tell me, since I'm a newcomer, how long have you been in this area, and then where did you start?
So I've been in the area basically ever since I was 6 months old, honestly.
Like Provo?
Yeah,
okay.
In the Provo area. I live in Springville, so not far.
Okay.
But I started getting involved in the music scene when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I'm 23 now. And so I have been in the music scene for a very long time. And but I discovered the Provo music scene when I was 16, and I have been involved ever since.
When you say discovered, was there a particular event that you remember marking as like, hey, this is what I want to be doing and going to? And was there something like an event that happened around that time, or was it just more gradual that you just started forming these passions that you have?
So back when I was 12, I was going through a very hard time with depression, and I was trying to find something that would make me happy. And as young as I was back then, it's probably weird to think like, oh, like how could you know that you're, struggling at that age? But at that time, at that time I knew that I was struggling, and somehow I think in middle school I was told about a show, and I went. And next thing I know, I ended up going to that, and I was like, wow, I really like this. And I ended up having to convince my mom a lot of times to take me.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few years, like about 4 years later, and I found out about this guy named Benton Paul through David Archuleta and Brooke White, and they're both from American Idol, season 7. And on Twitter, I would just see conversations with this guy named Benton, and I went on his profile and I looked him up, and I saw that he was a musician. So that night I looked him up, and I was floored. I loved him. And so I followed him on Twitter, and then I think about maybe a year later, I saw that he was performing in Provo. And I had never heard about Velour or anything like that. But the second that I had seen that he was performing in Provo, I had to convince my mom to take me. And I think I felt like I needed to be there. Mm-hmm. And somehow I convinced her to take me. And I'm pretty sure I went alone. She ended up dropping me off. And that night changed my life forever. And I think that night is when I knew that I need to come to Velour more often, because I kid you not, I haven't left since. And that night, it happened to be Benton Paul closing that night, and the people that opened up were Lindsey Sterling, Jen Blossel, and Truman Brothers. And till this day, I'm the biggest fan of all of them. Mm-hmm. And that night, each one of them individually spoke to me, and that night, it healed me when it came to my depression and, trying to discover who I was. I felt like there was just something there that I needed to continue to go to. Mm-hmm. And I was honestly really inspired mostly by Truman and Benton and Jen that night. So
Super fan was born that night.
Yeah.
And you were 16.
Yeah, I was 16.
Yeah. Well, so do you have siblings? Did they share your love, or did you grow up doing any music in the home? I mean, tell me about the early beginnings, mm-hmm. Young Aimee.
So I have wanted, no one knows this really.
This is exclusive here. Okay.
When I was 4, I actually have always loved music. you would always see me singing, no matter where I was. If I was at the store, at the mall,
Like Disney songs? What
I
were
don't
you
even,
singing?
honestly, I don't even know. I think I grew up with Selena Quintanilla, and she is this Texan Tejano Latin artist who passed away in 1993, I
You're
believe.
talking about Selena.
Yeah.
The Selena. I didn't know her last name.
Yeah,
Okay, of course I
Quintanilla.
know her.
Yeah,
I know her.
Selena.
Yeah, beautiful
So
singer.
Selena, I guess is what you would
Yeah,
say.
loved her song.
And I think I would listen to a lot of her songs.
Right.
But I also grew up with Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and I'm pretty sure I always belted their songs. But there's actually videos of me, like home videos of me singing all the time, making up my own songs. There's actually like a few songs that I still remember that I wrote when I was 5. And honestly, like that's how I kind of gravitated through music. I don't know how, because my mom is a dancer and my dad, he doesn't pay attention to the music stuff. And so there's no one like really like blood related.
Maybe a grandparent, abuelito.
Honestly, I don't think so. Yeah. But somehow, ever since I was like 3 or 4, I just was always singing. And I would have like my toy fake keyboard, and I would always be playing with it.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
I love those keyboards.
And ever since I was 4 till the age maybe 17, I was dedicated on being a singer.
Okay.
So I would actually perform at church talent shows.
Wow.
And I can say I was good. I was. Like, not to be cocky, but I was. Because, like, I was always singing. And that was my like, earlier life. And around 17, I decided I didn't want to do the music thing. But I knew that I wanted to be involved somehow.
Right.
So that's my earlier stage.
Yeah, and do you have, so your parents are they both Hispanic?
Yeah.
Okay, from where?
They're both from Mexico, Juarez, Chihuahua.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and I am Texan from El Paso.
Okay.
But yeah, we're all Mexican.
Do you know
so.
Billy's from Houston?
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, another Texan.
That's way cool. I honestly haven't visited Texas since I was 6 months old. So I am the most deprived Texan of my hometown. So if you were to ask me anything about Texas, I'd be like...
I know more about Texas than you. I wasn't born there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, honestly, yeah. So I'm Texan, and a lot of people don't really know that.
Yeah.
So.
And then your family moved here.
Yeah.
To Utah. Okay.
So.
Great. Well, let's just fast forward a little bit. We got the young Aimee, and now the current Aimee. You said you're 23, and beautiful. You're looking great.
Thanks.
And you have some health issues. Where are you at in like, is it an up and down kind of thing, or what do you deal with?
So I was born with spina bifida, basically where the spine doesn't close all the way, or it's like split open before birth. And so there's different like variations of how severe it is. Me, I'm kind of in like the second to last severe stage. The like very like big severe stage would be paralyzation, and sometimes you have like, you know, mental things that you are struggling with as far as like comprehension and stuff like that.
Right.
With me, I was told, my parents were actually told that I was supposed to be paralyzed and that I would not be able to be independent and probably wouldn't be able to even have a conversation with people.
What a horrible thing to tell parents.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. It was so
Thank
great
you.
to get to know you better.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry if I'm talking a lot.